If you've ever wondered whether redemption is possible when your past threatens to destroy your future, keep reading. This story will grip your heart and refuse to let go. Elena Morrison had never believed the old saying that a fallen woman never sheds tears on the job until illness brought her to her knees. The sickness didn't steal her life, but it left her fragile as porcelain and weak as a kitten. The Golden Rose Saloon in Denver, Colorado reeked of stale cigars and shattered hopes on that chilly October night in 1882. Elena hunched over the gleaming bar, her slender fingers curled around an untouched whiskey that had cost her 15 precious cents. At 23, Elena had once turned heads wherever she went. Her chestnut hair still caught the lamplight, and her emerald eyes held flecks of amber, but the fever had stolen the roses from her cheeks. "Sweet girl, you look half dead," came a raspy voice from behind her. Elena turned to find Rosa Bennett easing onto the neighboring stool. Rosa's face told stories of 1,000 nights just like this one. "I'll manage, Rosa," Elena whispered. "Just need to get back to earning tomorrow." Rosa's weathered hand covered Elena's trembling fingers. "Sweetheart, we both heard what Doc Patterson said. That fever almost sent you to meet your maker. And that railroad executive from Chicago left you with more than just his $20. Shame burned hotter than any fever. Her last customer had infected her with something the doctor couldn't name but swore would return. "Beauty vanishes faster than morning mist," Rosa continued. "Men evaporate like smoke when circumstances change. But let me tell you something true. The only real accomplishment for a woman in this world is bearing children who'll tend to her when her hair goes silver." Elena laughed bitterly. "Children? What respectable man would want spoiled goods? Every woman gets one opportunity to begin again," Rosa said. "The question is whether she's courageous enough to seize it." As Rosa's footsteps faded, Elena stared at her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back seemed like a ghost. For the first time in her adult existence, she felt the crushing weight of absolute solitude. No husband awaited her. No children called her name. When her looks faded and her health collapsed, she would die alone in some rented room, forgotten before her body turned cold. "This cannot be how my story ends," she whispered. 3 days later, Elena stood before the notice board outside Henderson's General Store, reading advertisements that promised new existences. "Prosperous rancher seeks wife. Must be willing to relocate to Silver Creek Valley, Montana Territory. Write to Marcus Brennan, Box 47, Silver Creek Station." The name itself sounded like liberation. Elena copied the address and composed her letter with precision. "Dear Mr. Brennan, I am responding to your advertisement. I am 25 years old, of sound health and moral character. Respectfully, Miss Victoria Hayes." She chose the false name carefully, omitting any mention of her current circumstances. 2 weeks later, the reply arrived with $50 for travel expenses. Elena spent her remaining savings on respectable clothes and packed methodically. The night before departure, Rosa helped her carry the trunk downstairs. "You certain about this, sweet girl? Montana's a long way from civilization." "The farther the better," Elena replied. "I'm going to have a family." As the stagecoach pulled away from Denver, Elena watched the city shrink behind mountains and prairie. With each mile, she practiced her new identity, lowering her eyes demurely, speaking in softer tones. By the time the stagecoach rolled into Silver Creek Station, Elena Morrison had buried herself so deep that Victoria Hayes felt almost real. "Miss Hayes?" The voice was deep, and when Elena turned, she found herself looking up at the largest man she had ever encountered. Marcus Brennan stood at least 6 feet 4 inches, with shoulders broad enough to block out the sun. His weathered face was marked by lines around steel-gray eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Everything about him spoke of hard work and harsh weather. The ride to the Twin Star Ranch took 2 hours. Marcus spoke little, but Elena found herself stealing glances at his profile. When they crested a hill and she saw the ranch spread before them, the sun was setting behind distant peaks. "It's magnificent," she said, and meant it. Inside, the house was surprisingly well appointed. A housekeeper named Dorothy showed Elena to a guest room. Supper was served in a formal dining room. Marcus had changed into a clean white shirt that made his shoulders look even broader. They ate mostly in silence, stealing glances at each other. When Dorothy rose to clear dishes, Elena instinctively began helping. She reached for Marcus's coffee cup to refill it, leaning across him. "More coffee?" she asked, her voice unconsciously dropping to the sultry tone she had once used to entice customers. As she poured, the old instincts kicked in. "I can serve more than just coffee," she whispered. The coffee cup slipped from Marcus's hand, clattering and splashing dark liquid across the tablecloth. He jerked back, his face flushing red. Elena realized what she had said and felt her own cheeks burn with mortification. But instead of anger in Marcus's eyes, she saw genuine interest. "Are you captivated yet? The best part is still coming. Don't stop now. Elena's journey is about to take an unexpected turn." The absurdity struck her suddenly. A laugh bubbled up despite her embarrassment. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. But the laughter was contagious. Marcus's mouth twitched, then broke into a full grin. Soon he was chuckling too. "Miss Hayes, you are not at all what I expected." "Is that good or bad?" "I'm beginning to think it might be very good indeed." The days that followed established a pattern of careful sparring. Elena helped with household tasks while testing the boundaries of their relationship. During afternoon walks, their conversations grew personal. He told her about building the ranch from nothing. She shared carefully edited stories of her childhood. But it was the small moments that revealed their growing attraction. The way he steadied her when she stumbled, his hand lingering longer than necessary. One night, a fierce storm blew in. Elena crept downstairs and found Marcus already in the kitchen, watching the storm. The sight of him, hair mussed, shirt open at the collar, made her breath catch. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. The kitchen seemed smaller with both of them in it. "Some dangerous things are worth the risk," she whispered. His hand touched her cheek. "Victoria, kiss me," she breathed. He needed no further invitation. His mouth claimed hers with weeks of pent-up hunger. She melted against him as he lifted her onto the kitchen table. The kiss deepened, became desperate. "We should stop," he gasped. "Then marry me," she said boldly. His answer was another kiss, fiercer than the first. They came together, like the storm outside, wild and inevitable. The wedding took place 3 weeks later, with half the town in attendance. As Elena repeated vows she met with all her heart, she tried to ignore the voice whispering that everything was built on lies. When Marcus kissed her as his wife, the congregation erupted in celebration. The newlyweds settled into married life with surprising ease. Elena's natural charm and intelligence made her an asset to Marcus's business dealings. When cattle buyers came to negotiate, she listened carefully. Her insights proved invaluable. "That Thompson fellow is lying about prices," she told Marcus after one negotiation. "He keeps touching his nose. I'd wager he's offering you 20% less than he can get." Marcus stared in amazement. "How did you learn to read men like that?" "Experience," she said simply. Armed with her observations, Marcus renegotiated a deal that netted him an additional $500. "You're incredible," he laughed. "Where did you learn this?" "I know there are things you haven't told me about your past," he said later, "but whatever happened before doesn't matter. You're my wife, and I love you exactly as you are." The words sent simultaneous joy and terror through her heart. "I love you too," she whispered. Spring brought a discovery that changed everything. Elena stood in their bedroom, recognizing the unmistakable signs, the missed cycle, the queasy mornings. She pressed her hands to her still flat belly. A child. "Victoria?" Marcus called from downstairs. The smell of bacon drifted up and her stomach rebelled violently. Suddenly Marcus was beside her, holding her hair back. When she looked up, she saw understanding dawn in his eyes. His hand moved to her belly with infinite gentleness. "How long have you known?" "I wasn't certain until this morning." His whoop of joy could be heard in the next county. He swept her up, spinning her around. "We're going to have a baby." The months passed in preparations and prosperity. The ranch flourished under their joint management. When their daughter Hope was born in October, Elena felt a love so fierce it took her breath away. This child would never know want or shame. The whole community welcomed the baby with open arms, treating Elena as one of their own. For the first time in her life, she felt true belonging. But the past has a way of catching up. On a bright February morning, while Elena was nursing Hope, a stranger rode up. Something about him sent alarm bells ringing. "Mrs. Brennan?" The man removed his hat. Name's Daniel Ward, private investigator from Denver. I wonder if I might have a word about a young woman who disappeared from the Golden Rose Saloon. Goes by the name of Elena Morrison. Through the window, she could see Marcus start toward the house. Her carefully constructed world was about to crash down. I'm afraid I don't know anyone by that name, she said steadily. Daniel smiled. Funny thing, because you look remarkably like her. Identical, in fact. The front door opened and Marcus stepped inside. His eyes went to the stranger, then to Elena's pale face. Everything all right? Mr. Brennan, I was just asking your wife about a missing person case. Young woman from Denver disappeared about the same time your wife arrived in Montana. Remarkable coincidence, wouldn't you say? Elena looked at Marcus and made her choice. Mr. Ward, I think we should speak privately. She led Daniel onto the porch. How much do you want for your silence? Daniel's eyebrows rose. I'm not here for money. I'm here because someone in Denver wants you found. Fellow named Raymond Jordan says you stole something that belonged to him. Raymond Jordan, one of her former clients, a possessive man with cruel hands. I stole nothing, she said firmly, and I owe him nothing. The door opened and Marcus emerged. I think it's time for some straight talk. Victoria, whatever this is about, we'll face it together. She looked at her husband, feeling her heart break. Marcus, let me guess, he said calmly. Your real name isn't Victoria Hayes. She shook her head, tears spilling over. And you weren't a respectable lady from Denver. Another shake. Were you running from something? Yes, she whispered. He nodded, then turned to Daniel. How much is this Jordan fellow paying you? Mr. Brennan, I don't think. I'm a wealthy man, Mr. Ward. I can afford to match any reasonable fee, plus expenses for your return journey. Daniel's eyes sharpened. You'd pay me to forget I found her? I'd pay you to report that Elena Morrison is dead, Marcus said. Died of fever last winter, because as far as I can tell, Elena Morrison did die. The woman standing here is my wife, Victoria Brennan, mother of my child and the finest lady in Montana Territory. Elena stared at her husband in amazement. He had known all along. Make it 1,000 and you have a deal, Daniel said finally. Done. After the investigator left, Elena and Marcus stood in silence. How long have you known? She asked. That you weren't really a sheltered Denver lady? He laughed softly. No respectable woman talks business the way you do or reads men the way you can. No proper lady would have said what you said that first night. Then why? Because I fell in love with the woman you are, not the woman you pretended to be. Whatever happened before doesn't matter. What matters is the life we've built together. She turned to face him, tears streaming. My real name is Elena Morrison. I worked in a saloon in Denver. I came here to escape that life, to find a husband who would give me children and respectability. And you found me, he said, pulling her close, the luckiest day of my life. But I lied to you about everything. You lied about your name and your past, but you didn't lie about who you are. The woman I fell in love with, who challenges me, who's building this ranch alongside me, who gave me a beautiful daughter, that woman is real. That's the only truth that matters. Elena buried her face in his chest, sobbing with relief and overwhelming love. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, he said, kissing her head. But you're stuck with me anyway. For better or worse, remember? I meant those vows, every word. I know you did. That's why I love you. Inside, baby Hope began to cry. Duty calls, Mrs. Brennan. Mrs. Brennan, she repeated, savoring her real name now, earned through love. I like the sound of that. They walked inside together, ready to face whatever the future held. Elena Morrison had died in Denver, buried and forgotten. Victoria Brennan had been born in Montana, rising from the ashes to claim a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibility. And that was the greatest redemption of all. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Because everyone deserves redemption, and every ending can be a new beginning.